All right, here with boxing commentator and former IBO Cruiserweight World Champion Ted Cofie. Ted, not the result many people predicted. Tim Tszyu's lost to Bakhram Murtazaliev. What were your initial reactions when you watched the fight?
Well, thank you, Jai. Much like everybody else, shock. Tim. Tim went into the fight, from a physiological standpoint, very fit, very strong. I think he said it's the best camp he'd ever had. But there was obviously some psychological demons checking that he'd been cut, and then obviously not making the adjustments against Murtazaliev before he got stopped.
Yeah, do you think there was some psychological issues? We saw him rub his head there and look for blood. What did you make of that?
Yeah, look, I think it's a normal course of action. Considering the cut and the decision he had beforehand, it was only obviously to check, his head kind of touched Mutazalev's head, and he thought, "Oh, let me just check if I'm bleeding." I think that's a normal thing to do. But once he'd been tagged a couple of times and hurt, you know, um, from the outside or from a seasoned boxer's perspective, he should have just gone back straight to his basic, single jab, double jab, buy some time, hold on when he's inside. But honestly, he just went for a gunfight. And Mutazalev was ready, man. He was ready. He was poised. I mean, in his environment, from Team Usyk and from where Loma and these guys are from, it's basically eat, pray, sleep outside of training. So they do nothing but focus on their craft, and the difference really, really showed.
Yeah, were you surprised in round one? It just wasn't the usual Tim Tszyu. He sort of just walked straight ahead forward at this guy. We're all expecting him to box a little bit and then maybe walk him down late. Do you think he was maybe trying to prove a point in there? What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, I definitely think he was trying to prove a point. You, me, everybody, Antonio Tarver, Sean Porter, we all just said, Zoo's going to go in there and win, talking about unifications, Terence Crawford, everybody. So this is it's very simple to talk about it in boxing. I mean, to talk about not planning beyond the person in front, but the same mistake always happens over and over again from the early 1900s to the 2000s to now the 21st century. It's a very, very simple mistake to make, but it can be costly. I think he went in there having trained very, very well, having feeling brilliant in the gym. But then when it came to execution time, he just thought, I'm going to go and beat this guy. I'm going to beat this guy in good fashion. I'm going to look good, and I'm just going to go for the unifications. And I think he just got caught cold. He just got caught, you know, unaware of a contingency or a plan B. And he just once he had started in whatever gear he'd started in, he couldn't get out of that gear. He was just going for the kill. Even when he was losing, he was just going for the kill.
What sort of an impact does this have on Tim's career? How far does this set him back?
I don't know if it sets him back super far. I think his next fight is gonna determine whether or not it sets him back even further, if you know what I mean. What I mean by that is that boxing is a terrible game of snakes and ladders. You can slip pretty quickly, but you can climb pretty quickly also. Now, let's just say that he really rebounds. He focuses on his next fight. Virgil Ortiz comes out of the woodwork and he goes in and has a hard fought unanimous decision win to Virgil Ortiz and wins the interim belt or something. He's right back there. And from a physiological standpoint, I don't believe he has any issues at all. He's strong, his physicality is good. From here onwards, it's all going to be a psychological game, a mental game, and this is what's going to either build him or regress him. If you look at his father really gives him the perfect blueprint. He fought Vince Phillips, came up short. He didn't hang around to try and get rematches and mess around and make excuses. He went on to achieve even bigger and better things. So, unfortunately, what most people don't understand is boxing is a business. And if you're not in any type of business, if you're not strategic and structured and focused, and you've got your operations and structures and simplifications and processes in place, you're not going to be successful. So, MMA is a bit more brutal, where you got to be nothing but pure physicality and a little bit of brain. But boxing, you got to navigate the waters. And if you could take the right fights and fight the right people on the right network and look good on the night, then you're right back up there.
Mm. There was some talk about
Mm,
perhaps fighting back domestically. What do you make of that? Do you think he
mm.
should stay with, fighting in the States?
Um, I think that the reason that there is, I did hear Sean Porter say he should fight domestically, I believe, and I think that that is a good move, only because he's a star in Australia. He's not so much of a massive star in the US, so or certainly not as big as Australia. So that this coming back here gives him just a bit of a higher platform, and it allows him to maybe trampoline his way to success a bit quicker. Whatever route he chooses won't be a problem. But I think it'd be a great idea for him to come back to Australia. It'd be a good homecoming. It would give him confidence. He'll have his home fans in his corner, and he can then start again and just do the slow rebuild back to where he wants to go to.
There was a lot of talk and a lot of comments about needing to change his team. Any
Mm.
thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, Tim's gonna do what he's gonna do. I mean, I think that it's always good to have an addition. It's always good to have an outside voice. Like anything, people get stagnant, people hit plateaus, and sometimes, a change is as good as a holiday, and people can just bring in just different advice from the outside. But I think that if you bring someone new into the training team, that can be just as effective as just changing out your whole team. His dad kept the same team pretty much for his whole career. I think if you bring in somebody different with a few different eyes, they can, you know, maybe teach you or advise you on a few things that you can do differently. And sometimes that's all it takes. It can take milliseconds, meters, just little things can make a massive difference in boxing. That's how I
His
see it.
dad, his dad Kostya was there the other day. What impact do you think that had? If he was going to be there, would you think he could, be in the corner so he could actually do something about what's transpiring? What did you make of his presence?
Yeah, look, obviously it'd be devastating, man. Any father would be devastated to see their son go through what Tim went through. I think Costa's voice would have been a good one. He's a stern guy. He knows boxing. He's lived it. He's breathed it. He's been successful in the sport. So I think it would have been great to have his voice. I think Costa, when I looked at some of the interviews that you did with Costa beforehand, he was saying that he needs to slowly break him down. It's going to be a tough fight. Take your time to break him down through the rounds. And I think that that wasn't Tim's strategy. And I think had he been in the corner and after round two, particularly, he would have said, go back to your basics, go back to your jab. Every time he comes in, stick him hard with his jab, keep him at range, keep him at a distance. When he comes close and is throwing his big shots, grab him, hold him. Basically extend the time so you can get back to your homeostasis. And he didn't do that. He went out for a gunfight. Maybe his mind was, I've been hurt, I'm gonna go and hurt him as well. But it just doesn't work that way in boxing. It's a strategic game.
Hmm. Um, Elsewhere, Jai last time we spoke, he was heading into a fight, Jack Massi. Clinical,
Yeah.
great performance from him. What did you make of that one?
Yeah, it was a great fight, man. I mean, Jai showed his class. He's a good fighter. I think there was a bit of fear that he might overlook Jack Massi ahead of going into potential unifications, but he didn't, man. I mean, his dad, Tapu, is a great guy, kept him right on point. He did exactly what he needed to do to be successful. He didn't rush his work. He didn't try and take him out in one round. He just systematically broke him down. He was better than excuse me, he was better than Jack in every department. And Jack is no slouch. I mean, he trained hard, he looked fit, and he even said he was in the best shape of his life. But Jai broke him down, and I think it's brilliant what Mass's trainer did. Jai gave him a hug afterwards. It was a smart move, and I think you get a lot of tough corners out there that is very bad for boxing. I think it was brilliant that he threw in the towel and rescued his fighter. It wasn't going any other way.
Time to unify now for Jai. That's the obvious path.
Yeah. Think so. I mean, if those guys will fight him, I mean, I think that with Turkey Al Sheikh in the picture, there'll be big revenue to make either Chris Smith or Zerdo take the fight with Jai. Again, like we saw with Tim, we can't look too far ahead, but Jai has the tools, and unfortunately for Tim, um, But fortunately for Jai, he gets an opportunity to learn from his friends' mistakes, and it could be a massive learning. When you go into these fights where everybody is overwhelmingly calling you the favorite, like Anthony Joshua and then Dubois, we see it time and time again. It's very, very easy for a boxer to believe his own hype and to go in there and think, I'm going to win. There's a, you've got to be very specific and focus on the task at hand, and you can't cut any corners, even though people are telling you how great you are. And I believe that Jai, could go. I said it in our last interview, could go on to be unified. There's nothing really to stop him doing that unless he, implodes and stops himself.
Also got Liam Paro in there in Puerto Rico again. Richardson Hitchens. Thoughts on that
Yeah.
one?
Um, Again, not just because it's Australian, but I think Liam will do him only because I didn't like Hitchens' last fight. He was tagged, he was hurt, arguably lost the fight. He was hurt badly and still came out talking about he's the next Mayweather. So he's facing some serious issues of denial. I think it's going to be maybe a good technical fight because Hitchens is a good boxer when he puts his mind to it and actually focuses on his on his pugilistic skills. But I think Paro is proof. I think Paro's last win is going to now raise him to another level, and I'm hoping that he can stop Hitchens. But if not, I'll see him winning on points in a comfortable points decision.
Nice one. Last one. Any chance we'll see you back on our screens anytime soon? What's life looking like for you at the moment?
We're heading in that direction. I love the commentary. I like giving unbiased opinions and views and calling fights from a very neutral point of view. So yeah, we'll see. We'll get there. Talks are in place. But it'll be a pleasure to it's a pleasure to be back actually talking to you and being in the boxing game and hope to be back soon.
Nice one. Thanks so much, mate, and hopefully catch up soon.
Thank you, Joe. Good man. Have a great day.